Welcome to the Magdalene Voices, giving voice to those silenced for centuries through sacred conversations with beautiful, illuminating souls. I am your host, spiritual business coach, mentor, catalyst, and facilitator, Maria Estella. I serve spiritual entrepreneurs, Magdalene's Rising, and radiant beings just like you with the expansion and growth of yourself and your business, aligning you with your deep inner truth, bringing to life that which you're here to birth, and supporting you in expressing your soul's divine purpose through your being and your doing in this lifetime. If you haven't already, I highly encourage you to join my newsletter to stay connected and updated. You can do so on my website, mariaestella.com, where you can also find previous episodes and their show notes. And if you have ever wondered about your Magdalene connection and calling, and whether you are a Magdalene, I invite you to download the free Magdalene Blueprint I've created for you. Go to mariaestella.com/AYM to get it. Hello, Radiant One, and a very big and a very warm welcome to today's episode of the Magdalene Voices. In today's episode, I want to dive into something that has been near and dear to my heart for many years now, and that is how I see and again, I want to emphasize this is my truth and my truth only. Take what serves you, leave the rest, and and just make sure that you always, with everything that I share, check in with yourself and see how it resonates, because ultimately there is just one truth, and that is what is true for you. So make sure what you hear or listen, whether it be from me or from any other person on this planet, make sure that it resonates. And I repeat, take only what serves you and leave the rest. Now, like I said, today's episode is something that is near and dear to my heart, and it's something that I have been working with probably for the past, I would say, at least 7 to 10 years, both on a personal level and also especially in my practice, in my one-on-one work. And it is truly also what really permeates everything that I do, because of the results I see from it. And the topic the topic of it is how the expansion of love dissolves fear, and how I have found that really to be the quote unquote only thing that works. We live in a world, in a patriarchal, archaic, shadow masculine based world that, and also shadow feminine world, but that really has an emphasis on force and on abuse and on pushing and on coercing, and so your quote unquote personal development, your professional development, is very often also rooted in those premises, not because they're meant to be, but because that's what we've been taught and that's what we've learned. And so as you awaken as your divine feminine essence of knowing, of being, as she rises, she not only rises for quote unquote herself and for you, but she also her rise is also a call for you to heal and to bring into alignment your doing. And very often what I see is that those of us who have come here with a heart-based, soul-driven mission and are aware of that, or have an awakening where we become aware of that, very often what happens is that we begin all of those internal practices that truly strengthens our connection to our source, which is the realm of the divine feminine, which is amazing and which needs to happen. And I know I started out by saying that we live in a patriarchal, archaic world based in a lot of shadow. I do also see a lot of divine light in the world. I do also see that there is a transformation happening. And you being here, whether you're listening or watching, you're part of that solution. I just want you to know that, because it is through us that this world will change. and your willingness to listen, your willingness to question, to reflect, to inquire within, and also do without out in the world, that is what changes the world. So you may, quote unquote, think yourself small and think that you're just one in a billion or a trillion, which you are and which I am. However, you have a touch point with way more people than you know, and way more people than you will probably ever know. All of the people you meet on the street every day, in the bus, going to school, going to work, posting on social media, wherever, whatever it is you do or are, then that has a touch point with other people. And so when we come together, when what you do come together, and I don't necessarily mean in a conscious way. It doesn't have to be that you go to a group and sit down and do that, but just know that the work that you're doing, whether it be internal or external, that has an effect in the world. It is not lost. And that was completely a sidetrack, but really, I just want you to know that you are important and you matter. What you do matter, and what you are matters like crazy. So I just wanted you to know that. So, like I said, as we awaken, we really awaken the knowing, the gnosis that stem from our source. Whether you believe in God or whatever you want to call it, then you come from a loving, kind, and caring source, and that is all you are, or all you ever will be, and all you ever have been. So there's no change to that. No matter what human form or cloak you wear, then that is your source. And as she, quote unquote, your divine feminine, as she rises, she's also calling. And what I've noticed especially in my work with soul-driven, heart-based entrepreneurs, is that very often there is a discrepancy between their being and their doing, because again, like I said, we've been conditioned to the way of doing has to include forcing or coercing or pushing people into our work or our work onto them. And so when she rises within you, when your divine feminine essence, when she awakens, she understands, and you understand on a soul level, that the way of doing that you have been doing, it is out of whack. It is out of alignment. And so there comes a time very often for us where we stop doing, because we know that the way that we, quote unquote, have been doing is off. And that is where dissolving fear by expanding love comes in. Well, it's one of the many areas, and that's the one that I'm going to use in this episode. But it's one of the many areas in which you can use the expansion of love and in order to dissolve fear. And I want to say, for me, there's nothing really else that works. I know that there is these, you can bust through your blocks and, quote unquote, just do it, which, hallelujah to Nike for sponsoring and for doing that ad with Kaepernick. It's mind blowing. I love Nike, so I'm not bashing Nike in any way, shape, or form. It's just the idea of just doing it sometimes has a negative or a forceful connotation to it that I'm not completely in resonance with. So it's not about busting through your blocks. It's not about conquering your fears. And the reason why is because you can't. Yes, you can, feel the fear and do it anyway. You can screw it and let's do it. You can do those things. But in my experience, what happens is that the fear itself, once you've, quote unquote, busted through it or conquered it, quote unquote, it comes back. It comes back in just another area, or it will still be there, so that every time, let's say that you're scared of marketing yourself, you have as many soulful, heart-based entrepreneurs have, I don't know if I want to call it an issue, but we have a fear of visibility. We have a fear of speaking our truth. We have a fear of voicing our concerns and our hearts as well. So we have a fear of that, no matter how strong you were born, because let me tell you, I came into this world very strong. People perceive me, quote unquote, as being very strong, and I still had those fears, and did everything under the sun, tapped my face off, uh, listened to I don't know how many meditations for confidence, and you know what, but none of that, quote unquote, worked. It was only when I chose to expand from the loving place within me that I dissolved my fears of visibility. Hence why I'm sitting here talking and also being on camera with you. This would not have been possible for me, 3 years ago, in the way that I'm doing it today. And in terms of visibility, I want to say that, and this is something that came up in a session recently, and very often comes up in my sessions, and also in the group work that I do. Being a spirit, having a human experience, being a soulful spiritual being, having a human experience. You've lived and we've lived many lives, and it's no secret that within the past at least 2,000 years, a lot of people have been killed for their beliefs. A lot of people have been killed because of what they believed in, what they said, what they spoke of. And so it goes back to witches, it goes back to natives, it goes back to shamans, it goes back to, healers and medicine people. A lot of us have had previous lifetimes where we have been killed over and over again for our beliefs, for our skills, for our voices. And so if in this lifetime that you experience that you have a fear and you've tried everything under the sun, chances are that it's probably even deeper than that. So therefore, it is something that will stay with you until the moment that you begin to, quote unquote, heal it. And by healing it, I mean by shining a light, by bringing in love to it. So that is why, if you have an issue or a fear of visibility, of marketing yourself, of posting on, if posting on social media brings up, gives you heart palpitations and, anxiety, and then the way to clear that, sure, you can go ahead and just keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it. But in my experience, what happens is the fear doesn't go away. It just stays there, and it's there every time. Sure, it may diminish, but it is only when you choose to bring in love that you can truly get to a place where doing this, I honestly, I didn't know that this was possible. Being able to be on camera and to speak to you and to share my truth with the world from a place of joy and satisfaction and fulfillment and content, and no matter what it is, whether it be newsletters or posting on Instagram or Facebook or sharing, whatever it is, that possibility, I don't think I knew that was possible when I began, but now that I know, I just want as many as possible to actually have this sense, because it's so amazing and wonderful, and it really transcends anything that the world can, quote unquote, give me. So it's not about having all of the right things or the tools, because when I first started doing this, I just started with my regular computer. Now I have a little bit better setup, but it's been an expansion again. It's been an expansion and love whenever I've been ready to expand. So that's, in terms of visibility, and why suppressing your fears or busting through them or conquering doesn't really work. Now, the thing is, this work, the expansion of love, because it's very easy. We have no problems at all acknowledging others or, lifting them up. But when it comes to ourselves, you know, it's really hard, um, for some reason, which I haven't figured out yet why. I know it's about the projection of it. It's about the projection. We can see the light in others, and maybe it's because we're hindered by our physical senses still. I don't know, but and maybe that's just in the beginning of the journey, because we can see the light in others because we're still only now I'm getting to it. Okay, so I'm having revelations as I go through this. So it's about we can see with our physical senses, sense with our physical senses. um and as you continue your path of awakening, the unveiling, every veil that you lift will clear your sight even more. And the more you clear your sight, it's actually not the physical sight that you clear, it's the inner vision sight. And once you've cleared that, you're able to see your own amazing light, and stand in that light fully. Oh, that was powerful. I hope you got that. Okay, um, so that is why when we do this work, as with any work, it starts within. So it's about reclaiming your projection. So where do you see the light? Where do you see the light in others? You may see, and I have this because I hear from people that they see the light in me, but I just want to remind you that the light that you see in me, is the light that you yourself carry. Not only that, what I am here for, and what I really am as an avatar. I am showing you what is possible, so that you may know what is possible, so that you continue to do the work. That is how it expands. It's like a pebble being thrown into water and the rings are just expanding. That's what happens. And I may never meet you, I may never hear from you, I may never see you, but still, the love that I am sharing through this will resonate and vibrate and permeate the universe and touch people I may never meet, see, or hear from. And it's the same for you. You are that pebble that is, I don't want to throw you into water, but you are the pebble in the water that spreads the rings. And that's how we're all connected. That's how we're all spreading this love and joy and satisfaction and content and fulfillment. Um, so so how do you dissolve fear by expanding love? Well, there are some very powerful ancient gateways, and the quote unquote funny part about those is that they're so simple, and they're right in front of you. I am sure that I am not going to be sharing something with you that you haven't heard of before. It's merely a matter of what you choose, what gateway you choose, and then work with that. You don't have to work with everything. You can choose one thing and just work with that, and then expand from there. Um, so before I dive into some of the gateways, I want to go back to the projections and how it starts with you. And you can use, that's called mirror work. You can use that the light that you see in others as a way, um, but it's also important that you do the work from within, because like I said, if you choose to focus on everybody else on the out, you're not really, you won't ever experience the effect, and those that you are quote unquote trying to touch won't experience it either, because everything is energy. And so what we respond to is the energy. You've probably walked down the street and had a sixth sense that you had to cross the street, or you've you've had the idea of calling someone and then they call you and so forth. That's, that's your internal GPS. That's your intuition telling you, giving you guidance every day, 24/7, whether you hear it or not. It's always there. We can call it God, or we can call it universe, or Mama Divine, or whatever you want to call her or it. It's always there. And that is why the strengthening of that connection within, and the strengthening and the expansion from that space and place is so important, because if you try to do it, in the reverse, you will absorb other people's truths, other people's energy, and it will not feel right, and you won't feel satisfied, because there is a part of you that know what is true for you. So that's about the projections. So the way that the portals, or the ancient gateways that I mentioned, like I said, they are very simple, and they have survived for, I would say, millennia probably, if not longer. And there is a reason for that, and that is because they work. So some of the gateways that I like to work with is, first of all, acknowledgement. The acknowledgement of yourself for all of the things that you're doing right. And to be completely honest, when I first began working with acknowledgement, it felt so inauthentic. It felt so unaligned. It felt like I was just trying to, quote unquote, kiss my own ass, and not kicking myself for not doing it. It felt off. And but knowing that there was something there, I chose to continue. And today, acknowledgement and acknowledging myself for who I am, for what I do, is a part of my daily practice. Like every night before I go to bed, I have my journal in which I do different acknowledgement and gratitudes and so forth. I have different rituals that I go through, and part of that is acknowledging myself for different things throughout the day. It can be for what I have done. It can be for how I have been. So it's not just necessarily for doing something, it's also for being something, so that it is a balance between the feminine and the masculine side of me. And so that is a part that you can do, and that's something very tangible, and a tool that you can use and implement very easily. Pull out a paper and write down 5 things right now that you want to acknowledge yourself for. That's that can be a really powerful tool. Then there is gratitude. Again, gratitude can be very difficult if you don't feel like you have anything to be grateful for. And I know that people are saying, "Oh, we can be grateful for breathing and the air that we breathe and so forth." But and I've had times where I wasn't grateful for the air that I breathe. I'm just being very honest. I understand that there are times in our lives when we can be so frustrated and irritated that we are not even grateful for the air that we breathe. But again, it's a matter of expansion. So start where you're at. What can you be grateful for, and then start from there. Then there is if you're watching this, and if you're on the podcast, I'll link to this. But as you can see behind me, I'm currently developing, or not even developing, but it's because it's coming out next week, a 6-week healing journey for soulful, soul-driven, heart-based entrepreneurs called Mastery Through Love, which will, of course, touch upon all of this that I've shared in this episode and more. In the healing journey, we're going to go through specific areas where I see and experience that soul-driven, heart-based entrepreneurs very often get stuck, and that's in the area of competition, the area of comparison, the area of cash, and the area of connecting with your inner source. And it's a journey that I've created because I see how things like limiting beliefs, self-sabotage, negative self-talk, and a scarcity mindset really can trip us up. And I wanted to provide those who are ready with the option of expanding love in those areas, and through the expansion of love, dissolving their fears when in it. Now, this is a 6-week healing journey, and it's only the beginning. I don't claim that it will, fix your life and clear everything. It won't. It's not the Holy Grail. It is a starting point. It is the laying the foundation and the bricks. And if you're wanting to find out more about this, make sure that you're signed up for my newsletter. You can go to mariaestella.com to sign up for that, because that way you will be first to know once it comes out next week. Another very important tool is truthfulness or honesty. And if we have been, or you have been, sticking your head in the sand for a while, being honest and truthful about what you really want and what you really desire can, first of all, be very scary and painful, because once we choose to look at things that we didn't want to look at before, we very often find ourselves in a situation or, in a life where, things are not the way that we want them to be. However, what I find is that when we do that, that gives you the starting point. You cannot change what you will not see or acknowledge for what it is. And so it's not about pulling ourselves down or tearing ourselves up. It's really about giving yourself the opportunity to see. And truthfulness, this is what comes up for me right now, is that that's actually, as one of the modules in Mastery Through Love, is going to be about cash. And I know that a lot of soul-driven, heart-based entrepreneurs fear money, have loads of fear surrounding money, and fear looking at their finances and their budgets out of really fear. However, coming clean, being truthful about where am I at, will give you the foundation, the basis, your starting point for what can I do then, and you will then be able to make decisions that are based in love, rather than just running around using your card, not acknowledging that things are not as good as you wanted them to be. So truth, being truthful. And the way that you can use this as a tool is sit down with a journal. I love journaling, and whenever I do any kind of work, whether it be in a circle or a group, or there's always some form of journaling involved. I believe and know that once we start writing, there is a connection to our source, whether we are aware of it or not. You have a connection, and as you flow through the pages, your inner voice can really start to be allowed to come through. One of the things that I discovered was, in olden days, when the what are they called, the not the doulas, but the midwives. When the midwives went to a birth, they would very often bring, they would be knitting or crocheting. And what research has found is that when we do that, because it's a repetitive movement, you actually calm the nervous systems, you lower the stress in the body, and so forth. And I've found the same to be true, that when we write, when we get into that writing repetition of just writing, then that is what happens as well. So it can actually be, the benefits can be twofold, both on a spiritual level, but also on a physical level, simply of lowering the stress in your body. I'm trying to see if there's anything that I have forgotten. As always, if you have a question, if a question arises, you're more than welcome to, share in the comments. If you're listening to this via podcast, you can go, click the show notes and go to my website and then, ask your question. I'm more than happy to answer if I can or support you in any way that I can. Like I said, if you're curious about joining my 6-week healing journey, Mastery Through Love, you can go to my website to sign up. The page that it will be live on soon is going to be mariaestella.com/journey. That is what I had for you today. I love you and thank you. Take care. That is what I had for you in today's episode of the Magdalene Voices. For all of the deeds and the details, find the show notes on my website, mariaestella.com. Know that I would love to hear how it resonated with you and what you got from it. So tag me on Instagram or leave me a comment on either my website or YouTube. Finally, if it served you, please take a moment to share it with a friend or on social media. God bless.